It's an unfortunate state of the world that we live through turbulent times, and every now and then there is an attack carried out by so-called Muslims, or some other tragedy takes place. And at those occasions, keeping in view Islam's true teachings, Huzoor responds to those attacks and condemns those attacks. And we've seen that when the Paris attacks took place, the Belgium attacks took place, Huzoor responded to those attacks and guided mankind at those occasions as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, whenever there's such attacks take place, I mean, as I work or serve in the press office, I know that Huzoor always instructs us to send in a formal statement on behalf of the Jamaat in which it's condemned and offered sympathies for all the guests, for all the victims, sorry. And then similarly, when Huzoor delivers sermons or speeches, after following such tragic events, Huzoor condemns the events in entirety and makes clear that such attacks are completely against the teachings of Islam. And Huzoor offers his sympathies at a human level and prays for the victims and for their families, and that they are able to survive such a tragedy.
We'll take a look at one of the statements of Huzoor after such an atrocity, after recent attack.
और पिछले दिनों में पेरिस में जो वाक़या हुआ इंतहाई ज़ालिमाना फेल था। ये लोग ये अमल करके अल्लाह ताला के फजलों को नहीं बल्कि उसकी नाराज़गी को मोल ले रहे हैं। बस इस लिहाज से भी आज अहमदियों पर बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी है कि जहाँ अपनी इबादतों के मयार बढ़ाएं, वहाँ इस्लाम की खूबसूरत तालीम के साथ दूसरों को तबलीग करें। गुज़श्ता दिनों में जो बेल्जियम में मासूमों का कत्ल हुआ, ये दहशतगर्दी जो हुई है जिससे दर्जनों मासूम कत्ल हुए हैं और सैकड़ों ज़ख्मी भी हुए हैं, ये कभी भी खुदा ताला की रज़ा हासिल करने वाले नहीं हो सकते। और इस ज़माने में जबकि हज़रत मसीह मौऊद अलैहिस्सलाम ने खुल कर बता दिया है कि अब दीन के लिए जंग व जदाल जो है जदल हराम है, ये हरकतें खुदा ताला की नाराज़गी का बायस बन रही हैं।
Every year we have Huzoor delivers a special address at the Peace Symposium that is held in the UK in London at the Bethel Fatu Mosque. Yeah. And this year, in 2016, Huzoor also delivered a very powerful message at the Peace Symposium. And many people, even after listening to Huzoor's address, said that this, one, it has changed our view about Islam, and secondly, what His Holiness has said has been the need of the hour with regards to so many issues that Huzoor covered.
Yeah, I mean, you're quite right. I mean, throughout his Khilafat, Huzoor is focused very much about the situation in the world and the deteriorating situation in the world at a general level. How the world's peace is deteriorating, how the world is moving towards something very, very dangerous. I remember even in 2013, which was not that long ago, Huzoor was in Los Angeles and he made an address, and one of the most senior people who attended was the Lieutenant Governor of the United States. And after listening to Huzoor's address, where he warned of the risk of a world war and the need to move towards justice, the Lieutenant Governor told one of our Khuddam there that your Khalifa seems very pessimistic and I don't necessarily agree with his view on the world. A couple of months later, the Lieutenant Governor happened to meet that same Khadim again, and he said to him that it's just been 2 months, but in these 2 or 3 months I've realized that what your Khalifa said was completely right, because within those 2 or 3 months a lot had happened in Syria, in Egypt, and 1 or 2 other countries, from which he had realized that Huzoor's views had been very, very accurate. And then in this year's Peace Symposium, Huzoor, I mean, even before the event, was spreading these teachings, because Huzoor had meetings with the media, and an interview in which around 20 journalists had the opportunity to discuss with Huzoor the questions of the burning issues, such as the refugee crisis as well. And then Huzoor also met a number of dignitaries and spoke to them about the issues. Then the main event, and again there Huzoor spoke about the needs of the time. Huzoor spoke about the media very openly and very boldly, that they need to play their role in bringing peace in the world. They should be promoting good stories, promoting the need for peace, rather than highlighting always on the negative issues. I remember in a previous interview just before that as well, or some time ago, Huzoor said to a journalist that if 10 people join ISIS, Daesh, it is world news in every single country. But we, the Ahmadiyya community, are bringing hundreds of thousands of people towards peace every year. Hundreds of thousands of people are accepting this message of peace. But you don't have anywhere near the same interest. Many of them don't have any interest in this because they have their agendas. And so Huzoor challenged the media to show justice.
So we'll take a short look at an excerpt from the Peace Symposium speech of 2016.
There is no doubt that the media plays a huge role in influencing public opinion, and so the media should use this power responsibly, as a force for good and as a force for peace. It should show the world what true Islam represents, rather than focusing on the merciless acts of minority. I have no doubt that if the media takes on board what I have said, we will soon find that terrorism and violence afflicting the world will begin to die away.
So often we've seen that world leaders, particularly politicians, they have their time off. They take a month off or a week off. With regards to Huzoor never takes any time off.
No, he doesn't. I mean, the thing is that Huzoor's schedule is, we've already discussed it earlier, is relentless. And this is something that I've seen and I'm witness to, that it is relentless. I mean, just to take one small aspect is Huzoor's, the amount of letters he has to read and he has to sign. In the evenings or late afternoons, I have the opportunity to have mulaqat with Huzoor on most days. And whenever I'm presenting my report or whatever things I need guidance on, always Huzoor is going through files after file after file. He's reading letters from the Jamaat office bearers or from MDs, individual MDs. And as I'm talking, Huzoor is reading their letters, giving them instructions, writing prayers for them. And then sometimes I think that probably Huzoor isn't able to listen perhaps to everything that I've said. But then 2 or 3 days later, Huzoor will refer back to something that I said 3 or 4 days before. And then I realize that even whilst Huzoor's doing so many other things and paying attention to his mail, he's still listening to everything that I'm saying. And he's also giving me instructions at the same time.
Every Ahmadi has some sort of an example of this, that Huzoor knows exactly. If you write regularly to Huzoor, and this is what Huzoor's emphasized as well, that Ahmadis, and this is what the Promised Messiah Islam initially emphasized, that every Ahmadi should write to Huzoor, come to meet Huzoor, make that personal relationship. In one of the classes, in response to a question, Huzoor answered somebody's question regarding Huzoor's routine and whether Huzoor takes a break or not. It's a very interesting clip. We'll have a look at that.
आप क्या करते हैं जब आप फारिग होते हैं?
फारिग होते हैं, हर वक्त फारिग होता हूँ, हैं? फारिग हूँ तो फिर बताऊँ कि क्या करता हूँ, हैं? रोज़ाना मैं 1400-1500 ख़त देखता हूँ, लोगों के भी और दफ्तर के भी. 600-700 ख़त लोगों को दस्तखत करके भेज देता हूँ. फिर दफ्तर की डाक, उसके अलावा दूसरी भी देखता हूँ, मीटिंगें भी करता हूँ, इसलिए फारिग होने का वक्त नहीं मिलता.
This year, one of the tours that Huzoor went on was the Holland and Germany tour. And in the Holland tour in particular, Huzoor had an address at the Parliament at the Dutch Parliament, where Huzoor gave a very powerful speech, and also a question and answer session took place. And you were present, you had the opportunity of being present at that occasion as well. How was the experience?
Yeah, I mean, it was a very interesting experience actually, that once again Huzoor delivered an address directly to the legislators of that country. After the speech, there was also a question answer in which members of the Foreign Affairs Committee were able to ask Huzoor different questions. And one of the questions that was asked on a number of occasions by a couple of politicians referred to freedom of expression, free speech. And they were very persistent in raising this question. And So like I said, they mentioned it 2 or 3 times.
Two even different people mentioned this as well.
Yeah, they did. They mentioned it. And Huzoor, to both of them, repeatedly said that, yes, free speech is important. Freedom of expression is important in a just society. But there has to be limits. But the MPs kept pushing and pushing, and you could kind of sense that they were trying to get Huzoor to say that, yes, free speech should be absolute, and to say something which was in line with their own personal opinions. But Huzoor never deviated from the true teachings of Islam. And they kept pushing, and it became a little bit of an uncomfortable experience as a watcher. However, Huzoor remained completely calm throughout, not becoming angry, but Huzoor stayed firm on his position.
We'll take a look at a short excerpt or a clip from the Dutch Parliament address as well.
Over 1,400 years ago, the founder of Islam, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, prophesied that gradually Islam's teachings would become corrupted and Muslims would enter into an age of moral decline. However, he also foretold that at such a time of spiritual darkness, a reformer would be sent by God Almighty as the promised Messiah and Imam Mahdi to guide mankind back towards the true and peaceful teachings of Islam. Thus, we Ahmadiyya Muslims are not amongst those people who are creating or partaking in today's disorder and unrest. Rather, we are the people who desire peace in the world. We are the people who seek to heal the world. We are the people who seek to unite mankind. We are the people who seek to transform all hatred and enmities into love and affection. And most certainly, we are the people who make every possible effort towards establishing world peace. As a religious leader, I wish to say that instead of blaming and provoking one another, we should focus upon building true and long-lasting world peace.
Holland and Germany this year. In Germany in particular, Huzoor went to their convocation as well. And Huzoor delivered an address, and that was a very interesting address as well. And just similar to Jamia UK, Huzoor spoke directly to those Shahid Murabbiyan that had graduated that year. And you had the honor of being present at the convocation. What was the reaction of the students, and also how was the speech?
Yeah, I mean, again, Huzoor's emphasis was that this is the beginning of your lives. This is just the end of the first chapter, and now you need to continue your education. You need to display the highest moral values at all times. You are ambassadors of Khilafat Ahmadiyya. It was actually interesting. One interesting aspect is that about a year before, Huzoor had said that Germany Jamia and UK Jamia should have an exchange program where one class from Germany visits the UK for a week or two, and similarly vice versa. And so on that occasion, one of the classes of UK Jamia were present, and they were also able to benefit from Huzoor's address and listen to him. And it shows Huzoor's great love as well for the UK Jamia, that afterwards Huzoor met all the members who had come from UK, had a photo with them. And as Huzoor was walking around the Jamia building, which was very beautiful, Huzoor still said to them that we don't have the greenery and the vast land that we have at UK Jamia. So the thing is that at that point I realized that Huzoor has great love as well for UK Jamia, and they certainly do have a special.
Absolutely. We'll also take a quick look at an excerpt from Huzoor's address at the Jamia convocation that year.
ये अहद किया है आपने कि मैं तमाम उम्र खुदा ताला के दीन की तालीम के लिए, तालीम के और इशाअत और तबलीग के लिए वक्फ रखूँगा। ये छोटा सा अहद नहीं है, ये कोई मामूली नहीं है। आप लोग अब साहिब इल्म कहलाने वाले हैं।
With the advancement of technology, we've seen that Khulafa have been emphasizing the fact that we should use all of these advancements have been for the sake of propagating the true teachings of Islam, for the sake of spreading the message of Islam Ahmadiyyat. So Huzoor lays huge emphasis on using technology to spread the message of Islam, and one way is through the radio channels. And in this particular year, we've seen that Huzoor inaugurated the Voice of Islam channel from London, and Huzoor also gave a very special message in inaugurating the radio station Voice of Islam, and that was a very unique moment.
This year we were able to inaugurate, under the guidance of Huzoor and instruction of Huzoor, the Voice of Islam, and what just a beautiful name as well, the Voice of Islam. And this again was the name given it to the station by Khalifatul Masih. Probably people don't realize just how much input Huzoor has, that Huzoor looks at the schedules, Huzoor guides the programs and the administrators about how they should run their programs. And Huzoor emphasizes again and again that the distinctive feature of this station should be the teachings of Islam. And so I think there's enough radio stations out there that are already giving different things about world affairs and stuff, and obviously they'll be covered slightly, but the key focus should always be what is Islam's view, what is Islam's teachings. And so the thing is that you're right that this was a very historic day in the history of Jamaat.
Absolutely, and Huzoor's live message also went out on air in the Voice of Islam. We can see some clips of that here, but in that, the message that went out live on Voice of Islam, we have a short audio message of that as well, just as a recording, which we'll now listen.
With the grace of Allah, today I am inaugurating the Voice of Islam radio station. The purpose of the Voice of Islam is to inform people of the true teachings of Islam and to make it abundantly clear that Islam's teachings perfectly conform and relate to the needs of every era and every person. God willing, the listeners of this radio station will come to recognize that Islam's teachings are of peace, love, and compassion for all mankind.
So we're very lucky that on majority of the big occasions that Islam has, such as Eid al-Adha or Eid al-Fitr, all of these occasions, Huzoor, Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasir Aziz, delivers a special address on these occasions, and congratulates Ahmadis around the world through Eid Mubarak messages and through prayers. So it's a very unique moment for all Ahmadis around the world, where they tune in live and their Eid is almost complete when they listen to Huzoor's message.
Yeah, I mean it's Huzoor's Eid message, where he gives Mubarakbad to all Ahmadis throughout the world, is a source of happiness for sure for every single Ahmadi. Wherever they are, they have that link with Khilafat, that Huzoor is wishing them Eid Mubarak, and that's a source of pleasure.
So we'll have a look at a quick short clip of Huzoor Anwar explaining the message of Eid.
अब दुआ होगी, दुआ में दीन की खातिर मुश्किलात में गिरफ्तार लोगों के लिए दुआ करें, असीरान राह मौला के लिए दुआ करें, अल्लाह ताला उनकी रिहाई के सामान पैदा फरमाए, जान की कुर्बानी करने वालों के लिए, शोहदा के लिए दुआ करें, अल्लाह ताला उनके दर्जात बुलंद फरमाए और उनकी नस्लों को भी दीन पर हमेशा कायम रखे। अपने और अपनी नस्लों के लिए उनके दीन पर कायम रहने के लिए भी दुआ करें, अल्लाह ताला की रज़ा के रसूल के लिए दुआ करें, अल्लाह ताला हमेशा हमसे राज़ी हो और हमसे वो काम करवाए जो उसकी मंशा है। माली कुर्बानी करने वालों के लिए भी दुआ करें, मुसलमान उम्मत के लिए दुआ करें, उम्मत मुस्लिमा के लिए कि अल्लाह ताला उन्हें भी अक्ल और समझ दे और वो एक दूसरे के हुकूक अदा करने वाले हों, जुल्म व तअद्दी से बाज आने वाले हों, ज़माने के इमाम को मानने वाले हों, खाना काबा जो तौहीद और अमन और सलामती का निशान है उसका हक़ अदा करने वाले हों, मुसलमान लीडर भी और मुसलमान रियाया भी एक दूसरे के हुकूक अदा करने वाले हों। अल्लाह ताला इस्लाम की खूबसूरत तस्वीर दुनिया को दिखाने की हमें तौफ़ीक़ अता फ़रमाए और इस्लाम के खूबसूरत पैगाम को दुनिया तक पहुँचाने की हमें तौफ़ीक़ अता फ़रमाए और दुनिया में रहने वाला हर शख्स खुदाए वाहिद की इबादत करने वाला बन जाए। हज के दौरान जो वाक़यात हुए हैं, जो हादसा हुआ है, उसमें सैकड़ों अफराद उसके नतीजे में उनकी मौत वाक़या हुई। उनके लिए भी अल्लाह ताला उनसे रहम और मग़फ़िरत का सलूक फरमाए। कई मासूम जाने ज़ाया हुई हैं। आमीन। सबको ईद मुबारक हो।
Throughout the year, different countries celebrate their, or organize their, or host their jalsas throughout the world. Qadian and Bangladesh are two jalsas which this year Huzoor gave a special live message at the concluding of those two jalsas. So that was a very special occasion for them, and Huzoor through MTA delivers a special message for those people, although they can't be near Huzoor in a physical sense, but through the blessings of MTA, Huzoor's message reaches them live. Almost every year we see that this is something that Huzoor, this is a message that Huzoor delivers to them.
पाकिस्तान, हिंदुस्तान के अलावा दुनिया के 42 मुल्कों के नुमाइंदे बैठे अपनी अपनी ज़ुबान में इस वक्त जलसे की कार्रवाई सुन रहे हैं। बस आप में से हर वो शख्स जो इस वक्त कादियान की बस्ती में बैठा जलसे में शामिल है, ये हज़रत मसीह मौऊद अलैहिस्सलाम की सच्चाई की दलील है। हर शख्स आपकी सच्चाई की दलील है। बस आप जो बांग्लादेश में अपने जलसे में बैठे मेरी बातें सुन रहे हैं, इस में बिठाकर ये अहद करें कि हज़रत मसीह मौऊद अलैहिस्सलाम के मकासद को पूरा करने के लिए एक नमूना आपने बनना है। जब तक हमारे अमली नमूने कायम नहीं होंगे, ना ही हमारी अमली इस्लाह हो सकती है और ना ही तबलीग के मैदानों में हमें कामयाबी मिल सकती है।
Huzoor's schedule throughout the whole year is very busy, and Huzoor often doesn't take any breaks, and this is something that Huzoor was questioned about, and Huzoor answered this in a class, and it was quite an interesting reply. And I think if we listen to it, I think everybody would be really interested in listening to Huzoor's reply to that question.
आप मुल्क से मुल्क जाते हैं, क्या आपके पास एक छुट्टी वाला दिन नहीं होता?
मुल्क से मुल्क जाते हैं तो उन मुल्कों में छुट्टी वाला दिन या घर में रहते हुए छुट्टी वाला दिन? कब छुट्टी कोई नहीं होती। 7 दिन हफ्ते के जो होते हैं ना, वही काम है, वही छुट्टी है। उसी में जो वक्त मिल जाता है ना, वही छुट्टी होती है। या कभी कभार मिल भी जाता है दूसरे चौथे पाँचवें महीने चंद घंटे या एक आध दिन। हर वीकेंड पे छुट्टियां मनाते हो, मैं नहीं मनाता।
This year Huzoor also went on Scandinavia tour of Sweden and Denmark. That was watching on MTA and listening to some of Huzoor's speeches, and also reading the diary that you wrote about Huzoor's tour. It was a very interesting tour, and many issues arose at that particular tour as well, which were very, very unique to Scandinavia. It was an opportunity where Huzoor emphasized the Islamic teachings, and in many ways we saw a very different approach from the Scandinavian country and some of the politicians with regards to Islamic teachings, and the way that Huzoor responded to some of those, even some allegations that were raised. The way that Huzoor responded to those was quite unique and was very faith-inspiring for every Ahmadiyya, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that on this tour, it was again very packed from beginning to end. So many events. I mean, Huzoor addressed a reception in Copenhagen in Denmark. Then in Sweden, he addressed a reception in Malmö, which was to commemorate the inauguration of the Malmö Mosque. And thereafter, towards the end of the tour, Huzoor also addressed a special reception in Stockholm. And a number of contemporary issues were raised, whether it was in the interviews or in other meetings. And 2 issues in particular came up repeatedly. One was the issue of handshake. This had been an issue in Sweden for some weeks, even prior to Huzoor's tour, that there'd been a Muslim politician who was angry, who had not shaken hands with a female journalist, and because of this, she was upset and offended, and this caused a big hue and cry in the country, and the Muslim politician had to resign as well, just over this issue. So a number of journalists asked Huzoor about this, both in Denmark and in Sweden. And Huzoor's response was very beautiful. Huzoor said that he does not shake the hands of women, but his love and respect for women was greater than others, and he knew what was in his heart. Huzoor said that who has given the West monopoly over the form of greeting? He said there's Hindu people who join their hands together when they meet. There's Japanese people who bow down. People have their different customs, and you should respect each other's customs. You should not just say that yours is superior, and if people don't adopt it, then they are not integrating. Huzoor said integration is actually to be loyal to your country, to love your country, to try your best to serve it, to be law-abiding, to be peaceful. These are the issues. Huzoor said to them that people are dying of hunger in the world, and this is the issue that you're trying to raise. It defies logic, it defies sense. And the thing is that the people who were asking the questions, you could see that they even felt embarrassed when they heard Huzoor's answer and how logical it was. And many people commented to me about this as well, about how powerful Huzoor's response was and how inspiring it was to see how Huzoor follows Islam's true teachings at all levels, no matter the pressure. Perhaps an even more sensitive issue is the issue of homosexuality. Huzoor was asked about this, that what is Islam's views on this? And Huzoor gave a very balanced answer, a very sensible answer. In accordance, Huzoor said that according to the original teachings of Islam and also the original teachings of other religions, for example Christianity, this is something that is not condoned, and it can have a detrimental effect to society. This came in the media, that Huzoor said this in such a balanced way. That this was Huzoor's response. And some people reacted, local people, because they were extremely liberal, and they said that we cannot accept this, even though Huzoor's point was based on not just Quranic teachings but also biblical teachings. And there were some politicians from one particular party who said they would not attend an event in Stockholm that the Jamaat was hosting because of this. And when Huzoor was informed of this, Huzoor said it doesn't matter. We always stay firm to the true teachings of Islam.
We'll have a look at the Malmo reception's clip from Huzoor's address as well.
A true Muslim is a person who emanates love and compassion throughout his surroundings, and a true Muslim and the true mosque is a center of peace and security for all mankind.
This year, Jamaat Ahmadiyya Leicester had the opportunity of building the mosque, and Huzoor graced the occasion by inaugurating the mosque this year in Leicester. You had the opportunity of visiting with Huzoor to the Leicester Mosque and seeing the mosque, and also being there at the inauguration address of Huzoor and Walid Ta'ala bin Aziz at the mosque. And that was quite a historic occasion, not just for Leicester, but Jamaat Ahmadiyya UK in particular as well.
When we got to the mosque, Huzoor led the Maghrib and Isha prayers. And I remember thinking that we're on a journey, so probably Huzoor is going to offer qasr for Isha, but he didn't. And so I was personally a little surprised, but Huzoor actually mentioned this in a khutbah a few weeks later and said that he had kept in mind the instruction of the promised Messiah, or rather the guidance of the promised Messiah, about if you take a bag with you, then that would be considered a journey. And Huzoor said that I never took a bag with me, and I was coming back the same evening, and so that's why I didn't consider it to be a journey in which I can shorten my prayer. So it shows even in the smallest aspects, Huzoor is always keeping in mind the guidance and the instructions of the promised Messiah alayhi salam. The event as well was extremely interesting. Huzoor's speech was really incredible. That Huzoor spoke a lot about, obviously, the purpose of mosques, because it was the opening of mosques, but Huzoor tailored it to their local society. I remember Huzoor had clearly researched about Leicester and its history. Huzoor spoke about facts that probably most of the local Jamaat didn't even know of. For example, one of the roads there, Naber Road, is considered the most ethnically diverse road in Leicester. And Huzoor mentioned this in his speech and said that this is in the whole of the UK, yes. And Huzoor even said to the MP who was sat next to him that I hope to visit this road, because this is where true integration is taking place.
Have a look at a clip from Huzoor's speech. during the Leicester mosque opening.
It is said that there are already around 200 mosques or Islamic centers in Leicester. And so the word mosque or the building itself will probably not be a new thing for the local people. Nonetheless, we are extremely pleased that today, with the grace of Allah, the Almighty, Ahmadiyya Muslim community has been able to open its new mosque in Leicester. And I'm sure that where it will provide our members with a place of worship, it will also prove to be a beautiful addition to the existing mosques and places of worship in the city.
This year, Majlis Shura had a unique opportunity actually in the UK to have Huzoor gracing the occasion, and that was very unique for the Majlis Shura in the UK because they'd never, at least in the recent history, they'd never seen Huzoor Anwar actually conducting part of Shura, and on that occasion, Huzoor spent a very long time in conducting the Shura, and that was a very unique opportunity for the UK Jamaat.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that whoever you speak to about that day, who was present, they say it was an extremely historic and beneficial day for Jamaat UK. Many of them said they came to realize the true value of Shura, Majlis Shura, when they saw Huzoor's presence and how much importance Huzoor gives to it. And as you say, throughout the day Huzoor was there. He even did not stop for lunch and just continued the proceedings of Shura and set up all the various subcommittees and addressed the delegates as well.
We'll also take a look at the address that Huzoor gave at the National Majlis Shura this year.
It is evident that you are giving this counsel to present to Khalifatul Masih. However, as I have said, it is also evident that it is not compulsory that the suggestions have to be accepted by him. It is up to Khalifatul Masih, who will be receiving the suggestions, to either accept them in the exact same format they were sent, or to make amendments to them, or to reject the suggestions outright and completely change the original suggestions altogether. Khalifatul Masih will then make the most suitable decision based on what he deems to be best course of action.
This year Huzoor also graced the occasion of Eid al-Fitr and delivered the Eid address, and we'll take a look at the address of Huzoor Anwar Idul Aziz.
आज फ़र्ज़ नमाज़ों में इजाफ़ा करके अल्लाह ताला ने ये बता दिया कि मोमिन की ईद ये होती है कि अल्लाह ताला उससे खुश हो जाए, और जूं और जिस तरह मोमिन को अल्लाह ताला के कुर्ब की राह मिलती है, उतनी ही उसकी ईद हकीकी ईद बनती जाती। बस हमें इस हकीकी ईद के हसूल के लिए हमेशा कोशिश करते रहना चाहिए। अगर इस हसूल को हम समझ लें तो मोमिन का हर रोज़ ही रोज़े ईद बन सकता है।
The Jamaat has been spread across the world now in more than 200 countries, and each Jamaat has special correspondence with Huzoor almost on a weekly basis, if not daily basis, with regards to the decisions that they are making in their countries and how to actually go about spreading the true teachings of Islam. And Huzoor sends them guidance on a regular basis with regards to that.
Yeah, I mean, when I have mulaqat with Huzoor, normally in the late afternoons, it's normally at that time that Huzoor is often checking his official mail from the different missions. And I remember, or I often think that perhaps today the file will be a little bit thinner, but it never is. It's always completely packed with letters from different offices, both from the Markaz, from the centre, but also from missions across the world.
And apart from that, obviously Huzoor has meetings with various delegations that come from across the world, and also with many organisations such as the IEEE, Sadr Ansar, Sadr Khudam, not just of the UK but from across the world. Whenever they come, they have meetings, but those that are based in the UK, Huzoor has very regular meetings with them to try and help them, encourage them, and to solve their problems that they're having.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that every day, or almost every day, Huzoor has official meetings apart from his family mulaqats, which he has with MD families, in which he gives guidance, direct guidance to the members of particular officers. And that's what the confidence that Khalifatul Masih instills in MDs. And I know that personally speaking as well, that if Khalifa Waqt said something to you, that this is the way, then you don't have any fear or reservation in pushing it. Whereas if somebody else had said that same thing to you a few minutes before, you would still be considering, is this the best way? I'm not sure. There could be this, there could be this. So that is the beauty of Khilafat, that it removes all your fears and it gives you a direction for which you know is going to be blessed.
Absolutely. We'll take a quick look at an answer of Huzoor Anwar Aidar bin Nasil Aziz in response to a child asking about what is the most important task of Huzoor, and Huzoor explaining some of these matters in there as well.
आपकी most important duties क्या हैं?
सुबह से लेके शाम तक हर काम मेरा इम्पोर्टेंट ही है. देखो, मैंने जो मुख्तलिफ मुल्कों से रिपोर्ट्स आती हैं मिशंस की, उनको भी देखना है, उनको गाइड भी करना है. फिर जो हमारे सेंट्रल ऑफिस हैं वो अपनी रिपोर्ट लेके आते हैं, उनको गाइड करके उनको डिक्टेशन देता हूँ, उनको लिखवाता हूँ क्या क्या करना है. अफ्रीका में हमने किस तरह तबलीग करनी है, किस तरह मस्जिदें बनानी है, किस तरह अस्पताल बनाने हैं, किस तरह लिटरेचर प्रिंट करना है, किस तरह रेडियो स्टेशन चलाने हैं. साउथ अमेरिका में हमने किस तरह क्या काम करने हैं, इंडोनेशिया में हमने क्या करना है, फार ईस्ट के बाकी मुल्कों में क्या करना है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया में क्या करना है, अमेरिका में क्या करना है, नॉर्थ अमेरिका को किस तरह तबलीग करनी है, यूरोप में किस तरह तबलीग करनी है. ये सारी प्लानिंग और इनकी जो रिपोर्ट्स आती हैं उनको देना, फिर उनको गाइड करना, मुबल्लिगीन की रिपोर्ट्स, जमात के लोगों की रिपोर्ट्स. ठीक, ये बहुत बड़ा काम होता है, कई घंटे लगते हैं. फिर लोगों के रोज़ाना ख़त मुझे आते हैं जिसकी समरी बनती है, उस ख़तों के अलावा 600-700 ख़त तो डायरेक्ट मेरे पास वैसे आते हैं मुझे पढ़ने के लिए. ठीक है, उनके मैं जवाब भी देता हूँ. फिर खुतबा तैयार करना है, तकरीरें तैयार करनी, जलसों पे जाना, ये सारे काम ही इम्पोर्टेंट है अपनी अपनी जगह.
This was only a glimpse into the schedule of our beloved Imam. Huzoor continues to train the members of his community and spread the message of true Islam. Huzoor recently launched MTA International Africa. And for Jalsa Salana 2016 this year, Huzoor inspected all the Jalsa sites and delivered an address to the volunteers. As mentioned before, this is only a drop from a depthless ocean. If we take into account the sleepless nights, exhausting working hours, fervent prayers, constant streams of meetings and mulaqats, and the burden of millions around the world, one feels obliged to say a prayer for his remarkable strength. May Allah the Almighty strengthen Huzoor's hands.